Hello again and welcome to another lecture. This one is about the IELTS listening test. Now before we move on to the details of the listening test, you need to know first the following that actually sum up the important things about the IELTS listening test. First, remember that the IELTS listening test is the same for both those who are going to take the academic and the general training papers. So regardless of the type of exam, whether it be academic or general, your listening exam will be the same. Next, the listening exam consists of 40 questions. There are 10 per section. So there are 4 sections in this listening test and it lasts around 30 minutes. Next, after each section with 10 items, you will be given a short amount of time, which is approximately 30 seconds, to look at the questions that will come up next in the next section. You will hear this as an instruction, and when you hear it, make sure to follow it. Scan and skim through the items on the next section. Do not waste this precious time. Remember that in the listening process, the first step is the before listening step, and in that step, one of the suggested activities is to anticipate what's to come next. This is exactly that part. Fourth, it is important to remember that you will hear the recordings only once, so you need to be ready for the task. Make sure that you are attentive enough when listening. Lastly, after the test, you will be given 10 minutes to transfer your answers from the question paper or question booklet to the answer sheet. This means that as you listen, you may actually mark the test booklet with things that can help you answer each item. And then you may transfer those answers from the booklet to the answer sheet afterwards. However, take note that 10 minutes may not be enough to transfer and review everything. So, when you are already sure about an answer for an item, it is best to write it on the answer sheet immediately. Okay, now allow me to briefly describe each of the 4 sections of the listening test. In the first section, you will hear a conversation between 2 people, and it is almost always someone making an appointment or making a booking of some kind. For example, making a hotel reservation or hiring a car. And then the questions are normally fill in the blank type of questions, in which you have to listen to the information and complete a booking form. Keep in mind that the information in the recording will be given in the same order as the numbers on the test booklet. Also, you must be aware of tricks. The IELTS listening tests will often try to fool you by giving you something or an information in the recording that seems to be the correct answer first, but then it's going to change, okay, later in the recording. For example, your question might be, the man would like a blank car. Okay, at the start of the recording, the person who will provide you with this detail might say that he wants or she wants a big family car. But then this same person would change his mind in the recording. You will hear this, the changing of his mind, and then he will say that a small sports car is what he wants. So be careful of that trick in the listening test. Be attentive in order to get the correct information. In section 2, you will hear a single person talking by himself or herself about a non-academic subject. For example, a TV or radio broadcaster or presenter. Likewise, questions will follow. Meanwhile, section 3 switches to an academic context, and it will always be more than one person discussing something. For example, an academic paper or assignment being discussed by students. Sometimes you will also hear background noises like people chatting or a busy street. Now, when this happens, it is important to focus on the dialogue than the extraneous sounds. And the last section is normally an academic lecture, where you will hear one person, usually a lecturer or professor, talking for an extended period of time. Since this section is a lecture, technical terms may be heard. So it is important to really pay attention and jot down notes, especially when the subject is not familiar to you. And just like the reading exam, you will also encounter various types of tests, such as the ones enumerated on this slide. And now, here are some helpful tips. Number 1, practice listening to both one person speaking or a monologue and more than one person speaking at the same time to get used to it. Number 2, be careful with your spelling. Lots of easy marks are thrown away because of poor spelling. For example, spelling because B-E-C-U-Z instead of the standard UK or US spelling. In the IELTS listening test, both the US and UK spellings are allowed. So use either of the two. Do not use any other form or any other spelling of words. Third, be time-wise. As mentioned earlier, you will be given short breaks in between sections, which is from 30 to 40 seconds. Now, do not use this time to check your answers in the previous section. You should instead be using that time to understand the questions in the next section and to try to predict the answers. Fourth, be grammatical because it matters. If the answer is supposed to be in adjective form, do not write a noun even when it's what's mentioned in the recording. For example, if you will be required to answer the question, how often, for the frequency of an action, then you shouldn't write words such as week or year. You should instead write weekly or yearly. Fifth, be careful with capital letters. If your answer is someone's name or a place, then it must begin with a capital letter to be correct. It also says here to see tip number 9. Tip 9 actually explains that in the IELTS listening test, you can actually write all your answers in upper or lower case or a combination of both. When you write using the sentence case, then the first letter of every proper noun should be capitalized, while the rest of the letters are in lowercase. Sixth, follow instructions carefully and be mindful of the word count limit. To review how words are counted in the IELTS exam, please revisit the lecture on the IELTS reading test. Number 7, acclimate yourself with different accents. To do this, try listening to BBC News or Google, or you can watch more English movies to train your ears. Number 8, again, as mentioned previously, be aware of tricks as speakers change their minds or statements in the recordings. Number 9, write legibly. And again, properly capitalize if you are using the sentence case. 10th, jot down as you listen. You may mark the pages of the test booklet. You may write your answers on the question paper or test booklet as you do the test. Keep it simple and note down the answers as you go. However, if you're going to take the IELTS test online, you will be supplied with a piece of paper and a pencil to make notes on. You won't need to answer any questions on paper because you will be entering your answers for the listening test as well as the writing and reading in the computer directly. Number 11, hone your skills other than your listening skill. This test will tap on your understanding, reading, writing, vocabulary, and spelling skills. Make sure to practice all these skills under exam conditions. 12. Concentrate. Concentration is the key in every exam, even in the listening test. It is totally normal to lose concentration, and most people actually find it to concentrate for the entire 30-minute exam. To improve this, you may practice active listening. It's a kind of listening wherein you actively or attentively listen to something while you do small tasks. Practice this because this is what you will perform during the IELTS listening exam. Also, make sure that you are well rested, calm, and you have eaten before taking the test to feel comfortable. Number 13. Understand the context of each dialogue or discussion. Before each section, you will be given information about the speaker and what they will be talking about. You will not be tested on this, but it will help you to answer the questions that follow by understanding the context. So listen carefully. Number 14. Although wrong answers are not penalized, make sure not to leave any space blank. You may just guess answers in order not to leave an item blank. Lastly, for the IELTS on paper test, you can bring pens, pencils, and erasers, but sometimes the pencil is provided. I was provided one when I took the test. But if you're going to take the IELTS exam online or on computer, paper and pencils will be provided for you. This is the end of the short lecture, and I hope that it's going to help you take the test with confidence. Thank you again for your time.